Welcome back to Give Me Five with Jones and Eli, guest pod edition. And boy, do we have a special guest for you today. We have Jonny Pace of the Hockey Guys. Check him out, Instagram, TikTok. They are huge. Also a professional hockey player himself. So Jonny is going to be very qualified to comment on our topic today. And Jonny, I'm going to kick it to you. Are hockey players the toughest athletes out there?
Well, first of all, boys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was quite the intro there too. Love it. Are hockey players the toughest athletes out there? I'm gonna be biased, and I'm gonna say yes. Like from firsthand experience, and then hearing guys in the NHL, AHL, all those leagues that go through and play through the injuries that they do, and I know every professional athlete battles that adversity too, but I really do think at the end of the day, it's hockey players that are the toughest athletes.
I think there's a great case for it, and I remember back. I don't know if it was like a meme or like a picture or something of it was a side by side comparison of a hockey player who's like he's cut up, he's bleeding, concussed, still out there on the ice. And it's like LeBron James has like a twisted finger and he's out for a month. And I think that's such a great comparison because I do agree that ice hockey players are definitely the toughest team sport athletes. And I say team because I think there's one that might be a little more tough, and that's going to be boxers or UFC players. And I don't know if you want to qualify that as a sport. I personally would, because obviously those guys in hockey that fight as well, grinders, just come out and beat the shit out of guys. I don't know if you were ever that guy, Jonny, but I think definitely hockey is the toughest team sport, but I don't know if it's the toughest athlete at all.
See, I don't really buy into the boxers are the toughest, right? UFC fighters are the toughest. I do agree, like it is a tough sport, but that's what they're doing, period. I would say hockey players are really tough because they're worrying about defending, they're worrying about getting the puck in the net and having to deal with hits and fights on the ice and bleeding. That's why I would put hockey a step above that. My nomination also is going to be American football. I mean, you are in a car accident every single play. JJ Watt, the classic broken nose picture, put that side by side with LeBron. I mean, these guys are tough too, Jonny, no?
Oh, 100%. Like football players take a beating. And I think you nailed it on the head there because we even use that term that you said there, like after some games, you feel like you've been in a small car accident, you're banged up. But I just say, football players, I get, like you're getting hit all the time, but you're playing one game a week, right? And in practice, you're not really hitting each other, all that stuff. Hockey, especially the NHL, like you're playing 82 games in a season and then plus playoffs. And my favorite part about the playoffs is a month after when all the injury reports come out and you see what guys battled with. Like I think one year Joe Thornton played with a broken rib and a torn ACL. And they went, I think, the conference finals or the finals that year. Like it's truly remarkable. And even some guys on our team, like guys are playing with broken hands, guys are playing with, torn rotator cuffs, stuff like that. And, you're still getting out there and you're doing your job for your team because you're playing for the guy next to you at the end of the day, right?
Well, I think hockey is the quintessential team sport. And to that point, I think, the number of substitutions, the line changes, guys just knowing when to get on, when to get off, going on for 30 seconds. It's much more of a team sport than American football, Jones. I don't agree that American football is the toughest sport out there because I think, like Jonny said, these guys are playing one game a week for 16, 17 weeks out of the year. And, they're sidelined for 5-6 weeks of that anyway. They have bye weeks in there. They're, get off days and stuff, all the load management, in other sports. Hockey is really, truly, they're going out every single day. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jonny, but those practices can be as intense as the game sometimes.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed when I got to college, and then especially when I got to pro. Practices are arguably harder than games because you are fighting for that spot. You don't want to be the guy that's getting scratched or sitting out of the lineup, healthy scratch in the stands. And especially when you're coming in as a rookie, last year was my rookie season. I just remember coming into camp and I'm like, I was nervous every day. I don't think I slept properly for a month, but yeah, like you're competing every single day to prove yourself. Even when you have proven yourself, you have to keep yourself there. And you know, it's it's not cool to not try it. You don't want to be that guy that's lollygagging in a drill, whether it's just a flow drill or a systematic drill. Like, you're going 110% every single practice. And that includes our off ice workouts too. Like, you want to be the hardest working guy in the gym, all that stuff. And yeah, like, practices, like, they could get pretty intense. I've seen a couple practice fights over the years and stuff like that. Guys don't like getting pushed around out there, but it shows a good compete level. And the best part about it is after, you have no problem going for a beer with that guy.
I love that. Yeah, you know what? Obviously, Johnny, it's tough for me to argue with you on this, as I obviously don't know the sport of hockey nearly as well as you do. But my only argument for football, like, do guys in hockey ever have kind of a game where it's not as intense, right? Maybe you didn't get hit as many times, you didn't get into a fight, because you know if you're an NFL running back, you are going to get smashed 30 to 40 times a game, and that's going to hurt every time.
Oh, for sure. Like, you know, that's hard to say, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's a couple games where, you know, maybe it's a Monday afternoon game at 1 o'clock, and, you know, you played that weekend too, and you know, the atmosphere might be dead. There might not be that many people in attendance, and I remember one time last year, yeah, we had a Monday afternoon game, and I asked the guy to fight, and he just looks at me and goes, "Buddy, it's 1 o'clock." I'm like, okay, never mind, dude.
to kind of segue that, talking about hockey athletes in general, I totally agree that, you know, we're talking about the skill level and everything like that. Would you think, because I think back to a time, my brother used to have one of his best friends, his father was an NHL player, professional defenseman, great player. And I remember one time he came to our house and played like wiffle ball. Obviously a sport. He's from the Czech Republic. He's never played wiffle ball in his life. And he was like the greatest wiffle ball player I've ever seen. Do you think that hockey athletes, that because of the athleticism, because of the hand-eye coordination, everything, then like that transfers naturally over to other sports?
Yeah, I'd say it would. I think hockey players are definitely up there with the ability to be a multi-sport athlete. I mean, growing up, all the guys I played with, including myself, like, we either played baseball or soccer or something in the summer, like, just to get our mind off hockey. And even our warm-ups, you know, we play sewer ball, which is basically a version of soccer, of just keep up, right? And um, the athleticism that you need for hockey, you know, you're balancing on 1 inch blades on the ice while, you know, someone's trying to take your head off, and then stick handling, shooting, all that. I think it definitely can translate, and even a lot of our off ice workouts are similar to how you would train for another sport too.
Yeah, we'll talk about translating when it comes to hockey. I always see it with golf. All my friends who are great hockey players are immediately amazing golfers and absolutely dusting me on the links. How's
Yeah.
your golf game looking, Johnny?
I'm not the greatest. I'm not gonna lie. I probably shoot low to mid 90s, but we got a couple guys on our team. And actually, one of our coach, or both our coaches, are nasty at golf. Like, they're shooting in the 70s, no problem.
Yeah, I noticed also with golf, I feel like hockey players just love to play golf. I have a few friends who play hockey, and they're always just, it's not even that they're necessarily good at it. They just love it for whatever reason. I don't know if it's like so different than hockey, or it's, you know, you both are doing a little bit of this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just the perfect way to get out and enjoy the day in the off season too. And we're down south, so sometimes after practice, we're able to get away and play 18 as a team together. So it's kind of nice.
So with that in mind, I know we don't have a ton of time, but when you're saying that hockey players could be maybe the most athletic guys out there, they can play a lot of different sports. We talk about the obvious, the GOAT of hockey, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Does that mean that Gretzky is the best athlete of all time? Question mark.
Again, this might be biased, but I'm going to say yes. If you just look at how much dominant he was at his sport compared to other all-time greats at their own sports, like Wayne Gretzky, if he never scored a goal in the National Hockey League, he would still be the all-time point leader of all time. And, you know, I get the whole comparing eras thing too, but you also have to keep in mind no one else was doing it in that era. You know, he's the only player to score over 200 points in a season. And I think the second closest was Mario Lemieux, who got 199 one year. That's a tough one, but yeah, like just and even now, the second most points of all time, and I think, is Jaromir Jagr, and Gretzky still has 1,000 more than him. So, you know, when you compare to how dominant other great athletes were at their own sport, and then compare it to Gretzky, I think he was the best athlete at his sport of all time.
His dominance is unparalleled. I don't know, if you put, Gretzky on a basketball court or on a baseball field, I don't know if he'd be good, but I think his dominance, the only two that I can think that rival it, Muhammad Ali at the prime of his career and Tiger Woods at the prime of his career are two other ones I throw in there.
Yeah, 100%.
Michael Phelps, Serena Williams. There's a few up there, but Gretzky is certainly the great one. This has been Give Me Five with Jones and Eli. A very special thanks to Jonny Pace for being with us today. This has been fantastic, Johnny. Gentlemen, thanks for talking.
Thanks for having me on, boys.